Thanks for joining me for lesson 10. So a lot of the feedback I was getting was the frustration that when we're presenting in Google Meets with our students, that it takes over the entire screen and that we're not able to see our presentation as well as our students. And so we can't monitor the mics, we can't monitor who's coming in and out, and we also can't monitor the chat room. So today I'm going to show you a trick in order to do all of that, so that we can have a little bit more control of our Google Meet while we are teaching. So let's pop into our Google Meet classroom. Remember, when we're in there, we added our grid, which is a nice trick so that we are able to see all of our students. So I'm going to pop over and I'm going to have a student join so that we can have that second view. Let's allow this stranger on in. All right, so it looks like all of our students are here for the class. So notice we have our grid. So remember, this is where you get to decide if you want to make sure that they're muted. And then you also could remove them, and then this is where you get to make sure that they're at the top and things like that. So we're going to go ahead and mute because they definitely seem like a troublemaker here. All right, so remember, when presenting, our issue currently right now is that when we present, so this is kind of the biggest issue, is that they're able to see the PowerPoint, but as we go through it, when we start talking about the Vietnam War, we don't know what's happening. They could be having a whole conversation in the chat room and we can't tell. So what are we going to do in order to make sure that we can make sure that they're not falling asleep or they're not having a whole conversation in the chat room while we are presenting? So I found a couple tricks that we could do. So the first one is, so notice that I now have my two screens and I have them next to each other. So the first thing is we're going to stop presenting so we can kind of pay attention. So we have our two screens up and I have my grid meet up, and I'm going to actually make sure that I'm going to kind of narrow my screen so they have them next to each other. So I have my two screens and I'm ready to go, and I have my PowerPoint up. Now the next thing I want to do is when I go to make my decision to present, I'm going to pick a window. And now notice that I have two options. I could pick the window that my Google Meet is in, or now I have the option of just picking my PowerPoint. I want to choose that option. So I'm going to pick Share. So now notice that if you can kind of see up at the top, it says you are now presenting your screen. Well, now the students are able to see this PowerPoint, and I'm able to now see, I can still see what's going on in the classroom. So now I can still see my students, and they are able to see the PowerPoint presentation. So I can go ahead and I can click Present. So now notice that I'm over here. Now it went really big, but I'm going to come down here and I'm going to click this button right here. It's still presenting. So now I'm in present mode to my students, but I can now see my students as well, and I can see the chat bar. So if they're having conversations, I can say, all right, students, ask questions here. So they're able to go ahead and make their questions here, and then I can continue to send my PowerPoint through on this side. And I can show you what that looks like now. Now the other really cool trick that I want to show you is this other option that we have with PowerPoint slides. So if I click out of my PowerPoint slides, if I want to choose a different option, so notice I'm still presenting. It says still presenting to everybody. So they're seeing again the PowerPoint, but if I choose a different option to present and I say presenter view here, instead, I'm going to click this button. And notice I have some options up here. And I click Audience Tools. I'm going to say Start New. Now notice this, and I want to click over and see what the students are looking at. Notice that they have the same slides app.google. Okay? Now they can use that right there. They can go to that link. So what I like to do is I like to take this here, and then I'm going to go over and I'm going to put it into the chat room. And I'm going to say, you guys, what I want you to do is I want you to use this link right here to ask your questions. And I want to show you what that's going to look like. So if a student goes to that link, they're going to end up getting a page like this. And they can go ahead and they can type in a question. And they can say, when was the Vietnam War? Right? They could ask it as themselves, or if they're scared, they could ask it anonymously, and they can click submit. Now on your end, that's not going to pop up immediately, but you get to decide if you think that question is appropriate. So that's kind of the cool thing, because here, no matter what they put, it's going to pop up. And so you have no kind of control over the chat room. So if you have them use this instead, you get to vet the questions first. So as you're going through the PowerPoint, so notice I'm talking and then I can click next over here, and it's going to start going on their end. So there you're presenting. You see the question, you say, okay, I think that's a valid question. I can click present. Now see what happens over on the student side. Notice that the question pops up. So then you can kind of discuss the question, and you can then talk about it with the students. You can either say, hey, the student that asked the question, why don't you unmic and talk about it? Or you can have them discuss it in the actual chat bar because you can see it. It kind of decides how you want to do it. When you're finished talking about the question, you can click hide. And notice how that then takes it back out of the presentation and goes back to where you are. And then you can keep on presenting. So it's a very cool way to kind of do your PowerPoint slides in Google Meet. And you're able to kind of control it here and still be able to see what's going on in the actual Google Meet when you have your two things going on your screen. So hopefully this kind of helps, so you're able to still see your students in grid view. You still can see your chat bar right here and kind of control that. And then this technique allows you also to kind of control the flow of questions as you're going through your PowerPoint. So I hope this helped. If you have any questions, of course, you can put them in the comments below. Always like, subscribe, and share, and I hope to see you next time. Be safe out there. Take care.